I'm still in Colorado exploring the mountains, and I've got some really cool stuff I want to share with you, but this adventure takes place in Florida, so let's head back down south. Come on. Florida is still very much a wild place, and it isn't unusual to find reptiles in the road like this big fat water snake. In fact, the warmer it gets, the more snakes you will find, and it's always a good idea just to keep your distance. A tripod leg fully extended makes for a good way to help get the snake out of the road and back into the swamp where it belongs. But let's pass on the reptiles for a little while and focus on the real star of the show, the incredible Roseate Spoonbill. And as you can easily tell, there are plenty of these amazing birds here, but these are all juveniles from this year's brood. We'll come back to them in just a few minutes. Let's check out some of the amazing high-flying antics of the adult spoonbills. Photographing these birds can be tough because they come whipping in from pretty much every single direction. They fly in from the left, they fly in from the right, they come straight on and sometimes from straight overhead. The opportunities are everywhere, and you have to be spot on with everything to capture these beauties, but the amazing part is what these birds come flying in with just so they can make a nice comfortable nest. That little piece of dead vegetation isn't really that spectacular. Well, now that's a little bit better, but still a little on the small side. Okay, now it's getting a little bigger, and even with its eyes closed, this bird looks amazing, but I think they can carry a little bit more vegetation. Now we're talking. Look at the amount of stuff this bird is carrying. That is pretty crazy. I'm not even sure how it can see. Well, at least this one is carrying just a branch with no leaves to block its view. And now we're getting a little bigger, but I imagine this old piece of cattail plant doesn't weigh all that much. Capturing one spoonbill in flight with nesting material is always nice, but getting two in the shot is even better, even if the bird in the background isn't in the same plane of focus. And as you can easily see, both of these birds are carrying a lot of material back to the nesting site. And here are the settings I used for this series of images, as well as most of the others that you have already seen. I prefer to take pictures of these birds in full manual mode. I will alter each setting just slightly as I see fit. I also ignore the exposure meter in camera because it's never accurate for these birds, regardless of the metering mode I have chosen. Although the majority of color you see in these birds is pink, there's a lot of orange and yellow in there as well. And this is especially true on early morning shots when the sun is just coming up and hitting those birds with some nice golden light. That's the best time to photograph these magnificent birds. The light's a little bit on the softer side, but being that they reflect back that pink, the white, the red, the orange, and the yellow light, they're really, really easy to overexpose, so you gotta really watch your highlights on these birds. Back to the overachievers. This spoonbill has some nice green vegetation. I bet its mate will love the addition to the nest. And then you have this bird who is obviously trying to outdo every other spoonbill in the area. What I really like about this shot is the color. The trees reflected on the water made for some amazing green color. And this is the same bird a couple of seconds later as it flew over open water. The background changed from that nice green to an even nicer blue. And I think these images are a testament to how well the D850, when paired with the Nikon 500mm f4, renders the scene just perfectly. Not only are the birds super sharp, but the color captured by this combo is just incredible. I've done nothing to the color or exposure to these images in post other than actually turning down the saturation just a hair. And while this bird looks like it might be the champion for carrying the most nesting material, it isn't. Take a look at what this spoonbill managed to not only pull from a tree, but also somehow take flight with. This shot was taken with the impressive D500 and the Nikon 200 to 500mm lens. It almost defies logic, and I have been accused of faking this image. When I shared this image on social media, I got quite a few messages and comments claiming the image was fake. Well, when I captured this shot, I was conducting a workshop with a couple of great people who also managed to capture this incredible moment as it flew right on by. So for all the naysayers out there, this shot's real. We were just in the right place at the right time. Let's take a closer look at one of the nests and see if we can find any baby spoonbills. These spoonbills have been very busy. There are 4 chicks in this nest, and it looks just a little crowded to me. Those young spoonbills sure are cute though. Look how small their bills are, they're tiny. This portion of video was shot on the D500 with the Nikon 200 to 500 and a 1.4 teleconverter. This combination of gear gets you right up on the action when shooting in 4K. These birds were about 200 feet or 60 meters away. I'm right downwind, from the world's worst toilet. And oh my goodness, it smells so wonderful right here. I moved to another area in hopes of getting some good close-ups of a couple of spoonbills that were busy looking for material closer to the shoreline, and I'm glad I did. Look at these incredible birds. Talk about crazy looking. I mean, look at the color on this bird. It's unreal. You've got that awesome pink, some amazing red on the wings, and a nice orange tail. And check out those legs too. They're full of color as well. But let's have a closer look at that wild-looking head. Wow, what an intense looking eye. It looks like it's made from rubies, fire, and obsidian. And how could you miss that bald head? But check this out. These birds have a serrated bill where the serrated edges actually look like teeth. How crazy is that? And in this shot, you get a better look at those crazy looking legs, and you can clearly see a nice red patch on the throat and a thin pink line on the back of the neck. Wow. And check out this spoonbill. It looks a little different, doesn't it? That's because this is a young spoonbill. I'm not too sure of the age, but this one might have been born earlier this year, or maybe it was born last year. Either way, even the young spoonbills are quite unique looking. And here's a good shot with both of them for comparison. It even looks like the young one is a little larger than the adult. These are such cool looking birds, but I wasn't the only creature who was interested in these two spoonbills. Oh my God, dude, the alligator is right there. It's coming up right to the spoonbill. Oh, that's right, a huge, and I mean huge, alligator decided to come check out these spoonbills. Look at this alligator compared to this full-grown spoonbill. And here's something to think about. A full-grown spoonbill is around 27 to 33 inches or 71 to 86 centimeters. Let's assume this one is somewhere in the middle, so we'll say 30 inches. Now let's take that same measurement and place it on the alligator. Perfect, but that really doesn't tell us anything. I once met an old man who had been hunting alligators his whole life. Even when alligator hunting was illegal, he poached them. Over time, he learned to determine if a gator was worth going for simply by looking at its head. He told me that a gator's head, from the nose to the eyes in inches, is how long the gator is in feet. This way he could just glance at an alligator and quickly tell if it was worth his time. So stay with me here. Let's break this measurement in half, which would give us 15 inches. This gator's head is just under that measurement. I would say maybe 13 inches from the nose to the eyes. That would make this alligator 13 feet or just under 4 meters long. That is one big alligator. All right, enough with the math. Let's check out a couple more shots of this beast. I sat and watched this massive alligator as it slowly got closer and closer to the two birds. And the birds just, either they didn't care or they didn't seem to notice the alligator at all. And I didn't want to see the gator grab one of these birds, and I thought about quickly approaching the birds in hopes of scaring them away, but that would mean they would have to fly right towards that big gator, and I was certain that that would trigger an attack, so I just watched. And eventually, the gator lost interest. Seeing an alligator in this area is not uncommon either. The gators start to show up in large numbers right when all of the baby birds are learning to fly, and being there to see dozens of young birds trying out their wings for the first time is an experience unlike any other. Eager young spoonbills, energetic juvenile cattle egrets, and tall and lanky young great egrets all gather along a dirt road in the early morning hours. All of these young birds have been kicked out of their nests, and they're now ready to face that big world all on their own. They know where they need to be, but they haven't quite mastered how to get there yet. Flying is still new to them, and they're waiting for the sun to warm things up just a little so that warm air coming from the dirt road can give them some much-needed lift. It doesn't take long, and watching this new generation take flight for the very first time is absolutely hilarious. And we have liftoff. Well, I guess not. Never have I seen so many young birds in one place, and watching them trying to fly was simply an incredible experience, even if most of them never really got anywhere. It's very apparent that good flying skills and photography have something in common. They both take lots of practice, patience, and perseverance. I couldn't just sit there and film these goofy birds. Of course, I had to take a few shots as well. These attempted flights would make for some really good shots, and those tall, lanky egrets would be the perfect subject matter. I got a whole new perspective of these funny birds, and having them fly right towards me on several occasions was a real treat. This was some challenging photography. All those white feathers were bouncing back some serious light, and the heat coming off the road that these birds were using for lift was causing some serious atmospheric interference that made focusing very difficult. This is a very common problem that many new wildlife photographers get stuck on. When you have warm air rising up from the ground, photography becomes very difficult. The same thing happens if you have cool air hitting a warm surface. There isn't anything you can do about it other than just sit back and enjoy the scene as it unfolds before you and try to get some shots. This last shot was photobombed by a baby spoonbill, and that's something I'll never complain about. Speaking of baby spoonbills, let's see what they're up to. And here's our group of young distinguished spoonbills now. And it wasn't long before one of them attempted flying, even if the attempt only moved the bird a couple of feet. Apparently flying is contagious, and soon 2 more figured they would give it a try as well. I've taken thousands of pictures of birds, and I have to say that these are some of the funniest ones yet. Another spoonbill comes flying in from the back and executes a flawless landing among its peers. And then I notice one spoonbill who has the ultimate look of determination on its face. This bird is ready to leave the rookery, and it takes to the air right in front of me. I smile as the young bird passes overhead, and I get an excellent look at its impressive wingspan before it gains enough momentum and altitude to finally take to the skies and start off on its journey through life. I can't wait to see what the spoonbills have in store come next season. I did something a little different in this video. I actually added a little bit of subtle music here and there. I actually had some people requesting that. So let me know what you thought of the music in the comments below. And as always, let me know what you thought of the video itself. Those spoonbills are absolutely amazing birds to watch. So let me know in the comments below on that as well. And as always, click that thumbs up, share the video. That's a huge help. If you haven't subscribed yet, now's the perfect time. And if you want to know how I set up my D850 for birds in flight, follow the link on the screen and in the description below. I also offer workshops where you can go with me to capture your own incredible images of these beautiful birds. Follow the link on screen or in the description below, and thanks for watching.